Hi, boys and girls. Today we're on lesson 7-4, solve two-step problems. I know some of you really like doing two-step problems. We are on page 409. Let's read our I can statement together. I hope you're reading it with me. I can model and solve two-step problems using equations. So today we're going to be doing some two-step problems. Let's read our solve and share and see what it says. 3 bees land on some flowers. 10 more bees join them. Then 4 bees fly away. How many bees are left? Solve the problem any way you choose. Write equations to show how you solved each part of the problem. So here we're going to do step 1. So I'm going to do a 1. Oh, let me get my color. Step 1. Step 2, and then at the bottom here, we'll write our equations. So let's go back and think this through. What happens first here? 3 bees land on some flowers, 10 more join them. Then 4 bees fly away. The first thing we have to do is find out how many bees there were to begin with. How many bees were there in all before they flew away? So that means we need to add 3 plus 10 to find out how many bees there were. We had 3, and then we got 10 more, because 10 more joined them. So that's step 1. Write that down with me. We should know what 10 plus 3 is. That's 13. All right, so how many bees do we have? Right now, we have 13 bees in all. Most of the time, in a two-step problem, we're going to have to use this number as the first part of the second equation. So I know my next one is going to start with 13, because that's how many bees there are. I have 13 bees, and now 4 of them fly away. So am I going to be adding or subtracting here? Well, if they fly away, that means I need to subtract. So I have 13. I need to take away 4 that flew away. And I am left with 9. We could even draw this as a picture, and I will do that. You don't have to draw this part with me, but I do want to show you what it would look like. So there's 3 bees on the flowers. Those are my 3 bees. Do-do-do-do-do. Then 10 more bees come, and they say, hi, we want to come and hang out with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I have all of these bees. I had the 3 that I started with and the 10 that came. Altogether, now I have 13 bees. So down here, I want to draw my 13 bees because that's how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. But now, 4 of them fly away. So this one's saying bye-bye, 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 bye-bye. And I am left with 9 bees. See how that happens? So down here, let's write out our equations that we wrote. We did 3 plus 10 equals 13. And then we did 13 minus 4 equals 9. Take a second to write that down. Let's go to the next page. All right, solve any way you choose, show your work, write equations to solve both parts of the problem. Number 1, Carmen found 14 shells on Monday and 15 more shells. I want to just talk to you first about this word and. Whenever you see that word and, you're probably going to add. I use this example. If I had a coffee and a water bottle, that means I have 2 drinks in all. If I wanted to find out how many drinks I had, and I said, well, I have 1 coffee and 1 water, I would add those together to find out how many are in all. So the word and usually means you're going to add. So she found 14 shells on Monday and 15 more shells on Tuesday. She found 6 more shells on Wednesday. How many shells did she have then? All right, word problems are all about finding the key words. Words like and or more tell me that I'm going to be adding. If she finds 6 more shells, then she's adding them. Let's do step 1 and trace this out. She had 14 on Monday plus the 15 more she found on Tuesday. And that's right over here, 2. 14 plus 15 equals 29. And we can trace that over here. 14 plus 15 equals 29. And then remember on the other page, I said usually we then have to start with the number that we get from step 1. So our answer from step 1 usually starts my next equation. So sometimes I even like to draw an arrow so that number goes there most of the time. So she has 29 shells in all. We have to add that up before we could do any other step. Then she found 6 more shells. So we need to add 6. 29 plus 6. Well, let's regroup. 9 plus 6 is 15. And 1 plus 2 is 3. So 29 plus 6 equals 35. So at the end of those 3 days, she had 35 shells. Let's look at the do you understand? Tom bought 15 pencils and then 7 more. He gave 10 pencils to Nyla. If you want to find out how many pencils Tom has left, why do you need to solve the first part of the problem before the second? Well, that's because the second part of the problem depends on how many pencils there were to begin with. So we need to, I'm going to write this out. We'll do some writing here. The second part of the problem is based off of the first part. We need to find how many pencils in all before we take any away. And I know that's a lot of writing and they didn't give you a lot of space, so just try to fit that the best that you can. We need to solve the first part first because the second part of the problem is based off of it. We need to find out how many pencils there were in all before we could take any of them away. I'm going to pause there, let you pause it, and I'm going to keep going. We're going to do one together, and I'll let you do one by yourself. Let's do number 2 together. It's just more word problems. 3 by yourself. I'll read it to you in a minute. There are 6 red birds and, there's that word and 17 brown birds in a tree. If 8 more birds come, how many birds will there be in all? Well, before I find out this part, if 8 more brown birds come, before I find that out, I need to first know how many birds there are in all. So there are 6 red, and remember I said that word and means you're going to add 6 plus the 17 brown birds. We could count that on. If you want, you could regroup over here, do 17 plus 6. Or you could just do 17 in your head and count on. 7 plus 6 is 13. 1 plus 1 is 2. So in all, there's 23 birds. And remember what I said, once you get your answer here, most of the time, it's going to go right to that spot. We're going to start our next equation with it. Since there are 23 birds, we need to start with that now. So second part says, if 8 more birds come, how many birds will there be in all? So 8 more. If 8 more are coming, that means I'm going to have to add. So 23 plus 8. Again, if you need to, you can write it out as a regrouping equation. If you want to count on, you can do that. 8 plus 3, oops, we don't need that one. 8 plus 3 is 11, and 1 plus 2 is 3. So there would have been 31 birds in all. And again, those words in all usually mean you're adding. All right, I want you to do number 3. I'm going to read it to you. Erica saw 16 frogs on a lily pad and 8 frogs in the mud. If 7 of the frogs hop away, how many frogs will be left? All right, we're not asking in all. We want to know how many will be left. So think about it. What do you need to do first? She saw 16 frogs on a lily pad and 8 frogs in the mud. Before you find out how many hop away, you need to probably figure out how many frogs there were in all. Try number 3. You could skip over number 4 if we have extra time, then we will go over this together on Zoom. All right, number 5 we're going to do together. There are 35 questions on a test. Okay, 35 test questions. I didn't mean to look like that, crossed it out. I wanted to underline it. 35 test questions. Kareem answers 10 of the questions. Then he answers 12 more questions. How many questions does Kareem still need to answer? All right, so here, if this one is a little different, let's think about what's happening. There's 35 questions on the test in all. Okay, I know Kareem answered 10 and then 12 more. Now we want to find that missing part. How many does he still need to answer? There's a couple ways to do this, but I'm going to show you the way I would do it. I would start with the number 35. That's how many test questions there are. To find out how many he still needs to do, we are going to be subtracting. We're taking away everything he already did. We're taking away the questions he answered to find out how many are left. So first he answered 10. 35 minus 10. You shouldn't need to regroup this over here to figure that out. It's just going to be 1 10 less. 35 minus 10 would be 25. Okay, so after he answered 10, he only had 25 questions left. So right now at this point, there's 25 questions to answer. So once he answered 10 more, then he answered 12 more questions after that. So we are going to be taking away 12 more to find out what he has left. Okay, it's just like that example I gave you. If I want to find out how many students had their camera off, I need to take away the students who had their cameras on. Same thing here. If I want to find out how many questions he still has to answer, I need to take away the ones he already did answer. So he answered 12. I need to take that away. 25 minus 12. If you want, you could set it up over here. 25 minus 12. 5 minus 2 is 3. 2 minus 1 is 1. 13. That means Kareem still needs to answer 13 more questions. There is another way to do this. If you wanted, you could have added up all of the answers or all of the questions he answered already. So you could have started step 1 here by adding 10 plus 12 and then taking that away from how many tests or how many questions are on the test. So you could have gotten 22 for 10 plus 12 and then subtracted that away from 33. There's a couple different ways to do word problems. You just have to make sure you do what works for you. Number 6, you can do by yourself. Circle the equations that have a sum and underline the equations that have a difference. So you're circling equations with a sum, underlining equations with a difference. Then I'm going to have you do number 9 by yourself too. I'll read this to you and then you're going to have to choose which equations you would use. Bill caught 22 fish and threw 6 fish back. He caught 8 more fish. How many fish does Bill have now? Which equations can be used to solve the problem? You have to think about this, and it might help to write it out for you. You might want to do that over here or on a separate sheet of paper. Bill caught 22 and threw 6 fish back. That's going to be step 1. Are you adding or subtracting? Think about that. So your first equation, you want to think, is that going to be an addition equation or subtraction equation? Then, after he threw 6 fish back, he caught 8 more. How many does he have now? I want you to look through there and choose which one you think is correct. We will meet on Zoom right after this.